Hi guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. So today's video is gonna be different since Khadija is no longer here virtually. She's actually here in person.
Assalamu alaikum guys. Saum Makbul to everyone that's fasting.
So today we are joined by Nasra, who is a counselor, premarital counselor most specifically. So basically Nasra is gonna talk to us about the importance of premarital counseling. You know, we're gonna touch a little bit here and there about relationships, dating, maybe finding a spouse and things like that. Okay, since we've already talked about the whole single mom struggles, doesn't mean we're not gonna want to get married in the future or anything. And hopefully this information will be useful to anyone out there who might need it, right? Hi Nasra.
Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
Yeah, so thank you guys. I'm good. Thank you for bringing me on. It's a huge pleasure.
Yeah.
It's nice meeting you guys.
Welcome.
It's nice finally, you know,
Conversate face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we're going to talk about premarital counseling. So should I just start, or do you have some questions?
I think we will let you start, and then if we have any questions, we will ask in between. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very passionate about premarital counseling because I really believe that, you know, a lot of problems can be evaded if people first go through this. It's a very nice process. It's interesting. It's hard, but in the end, you know, it's very beneficial. So I know most of you know what it means, but basically it's just a session or a course that a soon-to-be married couple take in order to understand what a marriage is, what it entails, you know, the truth of it, the skeleton, not just the, you know, interior design of it all, but, you know, the foundation of what a marriage is. And you can do this, of course, either with an imam, any religious leader, or with a counselor. Preferably a counselor, but also imams do it in the mosques before the nikah happens. So it's really important and it's beneficial. So what happens when you come in? For example, now Amina, you know, you want to get married, you're remarried, and you want to seek premarital counseling. So you come in the counselor's office and you have a one-on-one, you know, session, first creating a rapport, get to know each other with your counselor, and then you start off with the process. So it's usually it depends on the two of you, what you and your counselor, the three of you rather, the couple and the counselor decide on how to do it, the timings and all. But it's usually, it can be either from one session, two sessions, whatever, you know. However, it depends on the counselor as well, because some counselors have it as a course, like an 8-week course, 4-week course. So it all depends on who you choose and how you do it. So now you, Amina, you know, you come in and with your partner. So what happens is, you know, we get to discuss a lot of things. You know, we start off with, firstly, you know, I ask what you and your partner think about what roles you should play in that marriage. For example, now the man, he thinks that, you know, I think as a man I'm supposed to provide for my family and, you know, just go to work, bring in the money, and that's all. That is my role in that household. And for the woman, she thinks that her husband, apart from providing, you know, financially, she wants a lot of, you know, emotional her emotional needs to be met. She's looking for a friend in this man. She's looking for, you know, companionship and, you know, someone to even help out in the house and all that. So, and vice versa, the woman might, like, for example, let me give you an ideal situation where now we have a man here who believes in those traditional roles, okay? He wants his wife to be, you know, stay at home. You know what wives do in the house: cook 3 meals, clean, and be caretakers of the kids. And for him, he's not going to do all that. For him, it's just go work, bring in the money. So what happens is, if we have a woman here who thinks, or rather who does not believe in the traditional roles, who expects the man to help out in the house, to help out, you know, actively raising those kids, and also for her to go to work. So, you know, what happens here is there'll be a clash, because, you know, everyone comes from a, you know, environment, a different environment, how they've been raised, their and all that. So all these things come to play, and if you don't consider them and you just rush into the marriage without talking about it, what happens is now, you get to fight, have issues, and in the end, you're unable to resolve those issues, and you fight, and, divorce happens. And funny, a lot of divorce happen because of these very small, trivial things. Because it can be trivial to an outsider, but for those two people who are inside that marriage, it's daunting and it's very problematic, and they're unable to solve their issues.
I have a question. Okay, so you offer premarital counseling, and let's say someone didn't go for it, and then they're having those issues, and like they wanna, of course divorce is bound to happen. Do you also offer like marital counseling?
Yes, I do offer marital counseling, but unfortunately, a lot of men are not for the idea for coming in for counseling. So usually it's one-sided. It's the woman that comes in with her problems, and we try and talk about it. But in the end, if it's just one-sided and healing happens, and so in one side and the other side it is not it's not met. So what happens? Bado kutakuwa na conflict, because it's a two-way street.
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to tell you guys is it's important to go for premarital counseling with the person that you want to get married to. Also, you can get one in between your marriage if you need one, but the reason for the premarital one is, when you meet someone and you're like talking to them and you're like, oh, we're just trying to get to know each other, there's not I don't know how to say, like, there's not enough time to try and get to know each other, and you might not cover the most important issues in your life, like after you
don't know someone until you live with them.
Exactly. So there's like some things also you might avoid talking about. You'll just be like, I love you every single day, but there's some serious topics you might be avoiding, or you might not even be thinking about them. So at least when you go to a premarital counselor, you have an idea of what to expect in a marriage, even though every marriage is different. But there are those foundations, like you said, the skeletons, like build up the whole relationship together. So these are things you just have to sit with the partner, talk about. If you go for the counseling, there'll be someone who is like in between, so that you all don't start fighting each other, and brings things back into perspective, so that you can actually talk about them properly, right? So
but then sometimes you get like stubborn guys that would like put religion into it. So what do you do in that kind of situation when a woman wants to seek advice, but then the man is like, leave it to Allah, because he's the one that put us together? Like, we should ask his advice, we should pray instead of actually like looking for that, help.
Yeah, that's why I always believe that, you shouldn't be taught your own religion. As a Muslim, it's your responsibility to know the in and outs of your own religion, Someone else shouldn't come and teach you. So that's why, number one, we should firstly learn about it in detail, in depth, so that, when someone comes in with an idea or an advice, at least you know where they're coming from, whether or not they're trying to, misuse their religion. Okay, secondly, now that happened, you want to seek help and you're being told, no, let's just rely on Allah. Yes, we need to rely on Allah firstly. But then again, Allah helps those people who help themselves.
Yeah.
And seeking counsel is part and parcel of Islam. No hakuna mtu that has been born who knows everything. You need to seek help. When you have issues, you have to seek help. When you are unable to solve between the two of you, there has to be a third party. Because what this does is, the third party now is an observer, is an outsider. He or she won't take any sides, and they're able to understand where this person is coming from and where the other person is coming from, and then try to show them where you're all getting it wrong and how to help you maneuver all that. So it's important to first really learn more about our deen and our religion.
Okay, on the same question, you're out there in Kenya, right? And they're saying the rate of divorce right now, especially in the coastal region, is quite high, right? How many people do you think like go for their counseling, either before marriage or during marriage? Like, based on your experience, like, what percentage of people do you think go for this, and what do you think stops them from going for this as well?
No, majority of my clients are women who are already in marriages and they're having issues and they're just looking for, someone to talk to and vent out. It's usually just the women. They don't come together as a couple. Yes. And the premarital counseling, really, a very small number do come in for counseling. And I think this is because of, like Khadija said, we're being told about religion, oh, you don't need this. There's a lot of belief about counseling. I don't know where it's coming from. A lot of negative
stigma
connotation.
Is it stigma?
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma. Yeah. But that's why I really believe that it's important as Muslims to have more people who are doing these courses, psychology and counseling and all that, so that you feel safe to go. Because as a Muslim, you can't go seeking counseling to a Christian counselor. And there are so many. In Christianity, a lot of them is one of the church. I think one of the ways of, if you want to get married, you have to do counseling. Because they're very active when it comes to that. They're pastors and all that. But on our side, it's a bit laid back, a bit relaxed, and I think we need a lot of awareness. We need a lot of people to do these causes and help out the community. Yeah, especially for young people. I believe when they're getting married, they get married with this idea of what we see for TV and social media, and all of us want to experience that kind of love and all that, but that's just the interior. Like I say, it's just the interior design. You can live in a house that has no tiles and has no paintings and all those beautiful things. You can live and thrive, but you cannot live in a house that does not have a foundation. It won't stand.
That's true.
Yeah. So I was before I was talking about what it entails. We talked about finding out now. Again, Amina, you are there in my office, and then you want to seek premarital counseling. Okay, we've talked about what your roles are, what you believe your roles are. The second thing to talk about, which a lot of people don't talk about, is finances, and it's one of the leading causes of divorce.
That is true. That is so true.
That's something I don't like to talk about either.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah, I know that there's this perception when it comes to money, and people just don't want to talk about it, but it's really important to talk about it because it is a leading cause of divorce.
Yeah.
So what happens is now you come in, maybe from our society where we come from, of course the men are the ones who provide for us, right? But then again, the world is changing. The men are not really thinking like they used to think back in the day. So there's that expectation of let's share the bills. And then you don't know that you enter this marriage, so strutting in, thinking you're gonna be taken care of, Amina,
baby
and then
girl.
you find out you're being told,
baby girl.
I'm gonna, Amina, you're gonna pay the rent, and I'm gonna pay you pay this and this, and then you're shocked. It becomes such a huge shock to you, and for him, that's how he is. That's what he believes. So what happens again? Problems. And vice versa. Like there are women who expect to go to work and earn their own money and all that. So these are things again you discuss there. You find out what is this person thinking, what is their belief. Yeah. So once it's now your responsibility. You have that power. It's your responsibility to either accept it and move forward with a marriage, or say hold up, this is not what I want. I have my own. I have my own way of. I have my own way of thinking. This is what I want. So you either come to terms with it and accept it, or you refuse it, or nakuja katikati, somewhere in the middle you meet up and say, okay, fine, and then you move forward.
I think that's a really important fact.
It is.
Compromise, yeah. Especially in this Western, like where we are, squeezing men, they don't know their priorities, right? End of the day, men are the providers, right? If a woman decides to chip in into something, that's her choice, yeah? Like in this country, we can't live without helping each other because there's a lot of bills. But then at the end of the day, it's not a must for the woman to do so and so and so, The man has to do it. We women feel sorry for them. We're like, okay, it's a lot on the plate. I'm gonna contribute this and this and this. But then some men make it seem like, no, we're living together, we have to do this 50-50. And then that could create some sort of, clash. because I don't want to pay 50% of the bills. Like, you're my husband, you're supposed to take care of me. I'm gonna help you. I'm not saying I'm not gonna help you, but I'm not paying 50% of the bills, you know. Why am I married? Like, you know,
as a Muslim, of course, if you are really a practicing Muslim and you know the responsibilities of a man towards his wife is, number one, of course, provide for this woman. That's why I'm saying, our religion has taken a backbench, but in truth is, if you're really practicing and you know about your deen, this is your responsibility that Allah has placed upon you. Okay? So you have to take it on happily. You don't just take it on now, umekasirika. You just have to be happy. This is something umepewa na Mwenyezi Mungu, so you do it. But like you said, you live in a place where help is needed. That's a special case. So you take in that help, but you don't put that strain on your wife. That's the main problem that's going on. Is religion is really, iman is low. Religion imechukua kidogo imerudi nyuma, but that's the truth, Yeah. So this is things again you discuss. Sasa ile umeenda kwa counselor unasema na yeye anasema, unajua where everything lies, the truth, what he thinks, what you think, unaweza kuja pamoja, is there a compromise? No. It's upon you now to decide what's going to happen.
Okay, the first thing you mentioned was knowing the roles, right, of each person in the marriage. And then the second one, you talked about finances. What other things do you think are important that people...
Yes, there are many things. Another one is, for example, the gist of it all. Where are you going to live? Okay? Now you're planning a wedding, you're going to get married, but you don't discuss about housing. Okay? Or maybe he says, for now, you're going to live with my parents, and then after a few, years, we're going to move to your own house. Are you going to accept that? Are you willing to take that on or not? So these are important things you discuss beforehand. See that you get married and then you find out you don't have a home. And there's nothing wrong to live with the parents, but you discuss. You have to accept.
Yeah.
You have to be told, for you to choose whether or not to go through with it, And we don't want to vilify a man who wants to put you in his family's home. There's nothing wrong. It could be how they were raised. It's what he believes. Okay, maybe financially he's not ready. So discuss. Don't be blindsided. Discuss it. Because once you discuss and then you accept, at least you know how to adapt, because umekubali and all that. But ikikuwa like you've just been bombarded by this new information, or you've been put in a situation that you didn't want from the beginning, it's not going to end well,
Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't push your needs aside for the sake of love. So your needs should always be a priority somehow, because if you push it aside, then later on you might resent the person.
Okay, so what are we going to compromise on? The wants or the needs?
Yeah. No, that's why it's so dangerous, to get married because of what we think is love. What is love? Maybe you're just infatuated about this person. Are you really in love? Because, love is, I believe, something that is built over time. All these other things are just infatuation and romanticizing the whole situation. But in truth, love is something that comes later on. Because, Allah is love. Allah is Al-Wadud. Of course, He's going to put love in that marriage. But it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It takes time. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of sacrifice. But what I believe entails what a happy marriage is number one, honesty. Being honest with each other. Number two is respect. You have to respect one another. And then you have to like this person. You don't have to love them, but you have to like them. You have to be able to endure them being around your space all the time. Because if you don't like this person, how are you going to have them around? Yeah, so I believe in honesty, liking this person for who they are. And the third one was what? Respect.
Respect. I thought you said communication for a second.
Yes. And of course, communication. Not 100%. Let's add it on. The fourth one is communication. And good communication at that.
What do you mean by good communication?
I mean, and I think we had this discussion in one of your lives, right?
Yeah.
So I personally believe that, communication is not just me talking. There are people who know how to talk, very good, fluent, wako na maneno mingi. Communication, yeah. That's not communication. Unaweza ongea, but this person really hajakuelewa, hajakusikia. Real communication is when you speak about whatever that you want to speak on, and then this other person is willing to listen and understand you and what you mean by what you are saying. So muongea, and then the person just nods and you go, but the thing, whatever you talked about remains the same. Kukusikia na kuelewa is whatever you discussed, they are willing to change. But you have talked and nothing was changed, there was no communication. We started off with, knowing the roles of what this person thinks their role is in the marriage. And secondly was finances. The third one was, about the living situations and all that. The fourth one that is really important is, for example, now you get married and you're a career woman, and maybe now your spouse does not want you to work. So what happens then? So, or you're in school, or you want to start school. What happens then? So you get married and maybe there's a lot of hindrance, and he tells you, what, I don't want you to work, I want you to stay in the house. So you see that will bring problems. So you want to work and then it's not happening, or you want to go to school and then how part. So these are things, again, you discuss there. You find out where this person believes or what he wants and all that. Vice versa, it goes both ways. So when you discuss these things, what happens is you're able to put everything on the table. And once you put everything on the table, you're given, and I believe for women, you're given a certain power where you're not blindsided when anything goes, south. At least you know where this person is coming from. And then I'm also a believer in not taking everything negatively. Okay, because what they want does not necessarily mean, they're bad or is being backward for thinking the way he's thinking. No, everyone is coming from a certain, angle, how they were raised, the environment, and what that person wants. Maybe they just want to have that kind of setup, traditional roles and all that. So let's not take everything negatively, just discuss them. Sometimes you might have someone who wants you to have traditional roles in the marriage, and you're not like that. But you can discuss them and say, this is what I want. I want to school. I want to have a career. You never know. This person might say, okay, fine, and support you. Or maybe, there's always a way of communicating these things. Everything doesn't have to be, just because you don't believe in it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or anything of that sort. So those are usually what the things that we discuss during premarital counseling. And of course, so many other things where you prepare now a couple into the, like, for example, I'm going to give you an example. For a marriage to be successful, there are several things that has to happen. And one of them is you have to be willing to accept self-development. Okay, what do I mean by this? Now, if I got married, for example, in my 20s, will I be the same person when I'm 30? No, my thinking has changed. What I want out of life has changed. So you as, or even the man, how he was in his 20s and how he is in his 30s or 40s is completely different. So what happens is when this change comes in, you should be there to accept these developments, because you didn't get married to an inanimate object. This is a human being. People change with every season. Because in your 20s, some things are not so important. Okay? For example, maybe in your 20s, you didn't want to have kids. Okay? And then in Africa age flani, you have that urge of wanting children. And then now, your spouse might be wondering, I thought you didn't want children. And then there's a bit of clash here and there. So you have to know that things change. And if this woman in her 20s accepted to be a housewife, what happens? Because what happens is women in their late 30s or mid-30s, they usually have a lot of change that goes on. They start thinking, what if I had a career? Did I waste my time not working? And then all of a sudden you find out now your partner and how they think is so different. Unaanza kushikwa na wasiwasi, unaanza kubabaika. No, it's just how people change, along the way. You don't expect people to be the same the way they were. just accept that change, have room for change. So that's what happens during premarital counseling. You explain to these people that there'll be changes. You need to have room for it. You need to accept and adjust to these changes. Yes? So that's when people talk about, these men have had midlife crisis and all, they start doing funny things. It's just change, that's happening. They're not permanent, some of them, but you have to give them that room for those adjustments. Another thing is you support each other with your different interests and likes. Okay? For example, this person you're marrying, you're different. You have different interests. You have different likes. So support those things without you. Some of them together, but some of them, they don't necessarily have to happen with you. So give space for that. I'm going to give an example where, women, when they get married, maybe you get married to a man who's really obsessed with football. And, he's always out there with his friends and watching football and all that. And all he talks about is football. So you get angry and you don't want this person to enjoy themselves. And this is something that they like. It's their hobby. Okay? But now you have to sit down and say, you know what? Yes, I know it's your hobby. I know that you like it. But, at least you have to weigh in that now there's a woman in your life. Usiendelee to act as if I don't exist. Okay? Now you discuss those things. You don't necessarily make him hate or stop whatever he's doing, but you just support, but explaining that there has to be, katikati, middle ground. Usipote kabisa. And even for women, for example, women, we like going for weddings and parties and all that. You can't do it the way you used to before marriage. You can't expect to do it, every weekend. Now there's a husband involved. Your life is not the way it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So you have to consider that. So even if you're going to experience your fun, let it be considerate of your spouse. And you, the spouse, you have to give that space. Like, there are some things my spouse will enjoy on her own with her own people, and there are things we're going to enjoy together. But now what happens is sometimes we forget to enjoy things together. That we let each other just enjoy things on your own. Maybe I have this particular hobby that I like, and I'm just going to do it without you completely. You don't want to find out about that hobby. You don't want to be involved. So what happens is, when a couple don't have things that they enjoy doing together, you lose, how do I put it? You lose interest in one another because you don't know what this person likes. You don't have anything to discuss. And so what happens, you become a bit distant, and it's not a good thing. So everything has to be, middle ground. And these are things you talk about during the sessions. The fact that, yes, you have hobbies and the other person has hobbies. You give each other that space. But then again, don't forget to try and be together in your own thing as well. So in conclusion, Amin and Hadija, we should really advocate for premarital counseling because, the benefits outweigh, the disadvantages. Actually, there are no disadvantages to it. There are many advantages. You get to understand yourself better. You get to have that power that I'm talking about, where you're able to make decisions according to what you want, not what other people want. And it's very beneficial, and it will help you in the long run. So I think I'm done.
Thank you so much for opening our eyes and enlightening us. Hopefully, it will help some people, and some people will consider premarital. Was it premarital? Premarital, counseling, inshallah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you, Nasra. Guys, if you ever need any premarital counseling or any marital counseling, if you need any help in your relationship or marriage, you know where to go. And if you're a Muslim, I feel like you would definitely benefit from this, because she doesn't only do it from like a modern or a modern point of view, but more it's also like Islamic based as well, which is what we're supposed to do as Muslims, follow the teachings of Islam and stuff like that. So if you need any kind of counseling in that kind of sector, this is your lady. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nasra, for being with us here.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me.
We didn't have so many questions for you. We just really wanted you. We
wanted
just
you to talk.
to enlighten us. You know, you to talk and
Yeah.
yeah. We really benefited from this session, and hopefully, inshallah, we might have you on in the future if there's any questions that come in and people want to know about different things, because every time we do a video people approach us and they're like, oh, why did you talk about this? You forgot to mention this and stuff like that. So if that happens, we'll
definitely bring you back.
Exactly. You know,
that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and Salam Makbul.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Wa alaikum salam.